Now we begin with our topic today. The topic given to me today is higher education post-COVID-19. Look at what is the meaning of a formal education. If you look at the definition given by the World Bank, it is talking about a chronologically graded education system running right from the primary school to universities and includes technical and professional training. When we talk about higher education, we mean it's a tertiary education, which is nothing but including undergraduate, postgraduate, and it goes on to technical education, wherein we'll receive certificate, diplomas, and academic degrees. This is what we all professors are involved in. But look at today's reality. Today's reality, the picture is speaking for itself. You have empty classrooms, you have benches turned down, nobody in the classroom. If I talk about one aspect, and that is the international education, I'll touch upon it in a second. A large number of our Indian students go abroad. Now what has happened? If this COVID-19 pandemic situation persists, there's going to be a decline in the demand for international higher education. In fact, most of the universities abroad have said that they would be having the online semester, the first semester, that is the fall semester, and later on, when the situation becomes normal, they will go to the offline semesters. But there are many parents who had even applied for the semester. They are not ready to send the children abroad, looking at the pandemic abroad too. We look at the next aspect, and that is today's reality in our colleges, in our university. All educational institutions have closed completely. As of today, we have approximately 1,725 billion learners who are affected by the pandemic globally. And according to the UNICEF statistics, we have 185 countries which have currently implemented nationwide closures, which has impacted almost 98.5% of the world's students' population. What has happened? The month of February, March, April, most crucial months actually for us, because it's the ending of the semester system. We always see a flurry of curricular and assessment activities. And in this particular system, we find that there has been a pause. We had completed our syllabus, but our evaluation, our assessment, our taking of the examination has taken a back seat now. If you go to the next slide, if you see, let me talk about the 4 waves of education system. I'm talking about 4 waves. I think all of us know about this. The first 3 waves of education system that evolved over 2,000 years, we are all familiar with. The Gurukul system is the first one, where there was one master and very few pupils. I think the moment I mention Gurukul system, most of you must be remembering the poster or the picture that comes to your mind is of a guru sitting under the tree with a few pupils around him. This was the ideal Gurukul system that we called of education. Then we have the traditional university system, which we are all involved in. One to many learners. We have classes, and especially when I talk about South Gujarat University and all those, we have classes. Even in my college, we have 150 to 180 students per class. Then the next system that we are very familiar with is the distance learning, where we have one teacher, but to very many learners across the spectrum. You talk about the Indira Gandhi Open University, you talk about Baba Ambedkar, and so on. But what is the 4th phase of education system? The 4th is totally technology mediated education. And I term it as education 4.0. Now, what is going to happen in education 4.0? Look at what is going to happen in 4.0. The very first thing that we have seen is there a suspension of physical classrooms. The picture of a boy sitting in front of his laptop or a computer or a mobile with a mask on is a stark reality today. We know that children are not going to come so soon to our classrooms at all. At present, on the television, on many forums, at university, at the Senate syndicate level, there are debates going on about what would be the nature of the classes, what would be the future of the examination, How shall we evaluate the children and so on? Each state has taken its own decision according to the situation prevailing there. And both the two main stakeholders, the faculty and the students, are suddenly grappling with a sudden new norm, this new norm of a tech-mediated teaching and learning. What has happened now in these months? When the lockdown took place suddenly, we found that the teachers and the faculty were caught just red-handed, as we say, and were actually thrown into the water. Just as a child is thrown into the water to swim, in the same way, we are now swimming and we have got to learn the new tech-mediated teaching. What is the situation in India? India is not new to this online education. It is not new. If you go to see, the VSATs, that is the very small aperture terminals, were used by the top business schools. They are still being used till today to make the CUGs, and they offer online classes globally. They are well known. They are famous top business schools of India, which are very much sought after globally. Even when I talk about the IITs, all the 7 Indian Institutes of Technology IITs, together with the MHRD, they also had started the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning way back in 2003. So India is just not new to this online education. The only thing that it was done on a very small scale by few institutions, and today we are all into it now. The government online initiatives are so many. I think all of us have heard about MOOC, that is massive open online courses. We talk about SWAYAM. We talk about National Digital Library. We have seen that the government has taken many initiatives like ePathshala, even which contains a very good module on social science, arts, fine arts, natural and mathematical science. We have seen the CEC, UGC YouTube channels and so on. But look at the last line that I have written. The COVID-19 has hastened the online education sector. It has been trusted upon us, and we are supposed now to have a tech-mediated online education. Now, post-COVID, how do we educate our students? How do we educate them? First of all, let us see to a few elements. First of all, we'll be educating citizens in an interconnected world. When I say interconnected world, I mean COVID-19 has actually stamped its signature telling us that we are globally interconnected. We cannot live like Robinson Crusoe's on an island. There is no such thing as isolated issues and actions. We require to understand this interrelatedness and to communicate in a globally collaborative way. Communication is a major key for this interconnected existence. And not only that, to bring about these connections, we require technology, and technology is the driving force that will take place. So I talked about the interconnected world that we are living in. Today, you can attend any online course from any university, and now it has become more prominent. The next thing is the role of the educator is totally redefined. Role of the educator. What has happened today? The students, with a few clicks on their phone, the tablets, the computers, they can get information of any kind. You look at the students that we are having today. They are from the generation Z. They have lived with technology. The oldest students among us would be about only just 25 years old, but he cannot live without technology. These are students where they have the fear of being alone, the fear of missing out. They are the ones who are in this particular pandemic. They are the ones who are living with fear about what is going to happen in future, but they are savvy with technology, not like us teachers. And we've got to remain in a truly globalized world, understanding that now we require to change for our students. We need teachers to make our students think. We should be mentors and gurus. We are not required to be standing in the classroom and lecturing as students take notes, which we have been doing since so many years. I'm asking you one question, a pointed question. instead of being taught? Can students be given an experience that influence their learning? Can we do that? And if we can do that, it means we have moved away from a teacher-centric education to a student-centric education. What exactly is learning? Learning is about gradually inducing a change in the learner's actions and behavior. We have got to change his thinking, the mental modes, and as a result, this is going to help him in the practical situations in life. And that is the change that COVID-19 has brought in. The educator's role has suddenly changed from what it was in the traditional teaching. The third main aspect that I would like to say is we've got to now teach life skills needed for the future. It is so necessary that we've got to teach life skills for the children, because without teaching our life skills, we are not going to be able to make our students ready for the future. Now, what has happened is the children, young children require resilience and they require adaptability which are necessary to navigate effectively through this pandemic. The course of the teaching, the way the curriculums are taught are going to change. According to me, curriculums may be revised to largely accommodate life skills for the future. There will be a change in the purpose of learning, and there will be a major deviation from the information-focused education of today. What are employees looking for? The employees today are looking at creativity, at communication, at collaboration. And this is what the new education requires. So what did I say just now? When I said that we are going to educate our children in an interconnected world, the educator's role is going to change totally. We are going to teach life skills needed for the future. This is what we require. And the fourth thing that we require is technology. We are going to have a very tight relationship with technology in future. The lockdown has actually accelerated or hastened the adoption of digital technology. I think people like you and me at this age, we had never heard about a Zoom application or a Google Meet application, and today we are conducting webinars. We did not even know how to do it, and today we are learning. This is the ideal time to experiment. This is the ideal time for us to use new tools to make education delivery as meaningful as possible, because our children are going to come in late to the campuses. The situation is still grim. We are talking today about virtual classrooms. We are talking about making the real classroom as close to the real classroom experience for our children, though we cannot replicate it totally. I do agree, but still we have got to change. I go back again to the 4 points. We are teaching students in an interconnected world. We are redefining the role of an educator. We are going to teach life skills needed for the future, and we are going to unlock technology now to deliver education, which we are doing a little, we are learning in the last 2 months. So now I focus on online teaching. What is going to happen post-COVID? The subject matter to be delivered is to be delivered online, but technology will always be the intermediary. We require a lot of understanding. We require to know the digital pedagogy, because without knowing, we will not be able to. There are teachers in my own staff saying, "Madam, we do not know how to teach online. We do not know how to conduct classes, show us, train us." And yes, that is the need of the hour. Every teaching faculty needs to be enabled with the knowledge. Otherwise, you collaborate with experts. That's the only way of going ahead. Online teaching is a specialized learning science which combines many things together. It combines the psychology, it combines the behavioral analyticals, content delivery, and assessment. We require to make the content contextualized and bite-sized. I'm talking about bite-size. Why did I say bite-size? Because you know, a byte is actually a unit of digital information that consists of 8 bits, and it's the smallest admissible unit of memory. We've got to make it interesting for our students. No doubt we can't see them face to face, but we require that at present. We have to make it learner-centric rather than teacher-centric. don't equate online delivery with online learning. No, we require to retrain our teachers in this particular mode. Now, what is my take on this future education? For me, my takes are the following. The online education will be a strategic priority at every institution. Now, whenever a strategic planning takes place in an institution, the online education will have to be integrated into the existing academic leadership structures and processes. We will require to plan, manage, and fund online education at present. The next take, many of us will be scoffing, especially our teachers who have spent about 20, 25, 30, 40 years in teaching. Oh, how can online education substitute the offline? I do not say that. I am saying offline is important, online is the need of the hour, but what will happen will be the blended learning that will take place. You use your Canvas, you use your Blackboard, but you will also use the synchronous platform like Zoom, Google Meet, and so on. And these all will be blended together. You teach online, and when the students come back to the class, you will be able to have a face-to-face instruction, more discussion, more debates, and you will be able to use your precious time in this matter. Digital tools, please remember teachers, digital tools are complements, they are not substitutes. They are not substitutes for face-to-face learning. You look at the face of the students, you gauge, you know whether the student has understood or not, but that can take place with the blended learning only. Another very important thing that my take is, faculty selection will be gradually linked to technology friendliness and keenness for technology adoption. Today, I know that when a professor or a teacher is to be appointed in a college or a university, they ask for CCC examination. For a principal, it's CCC plus examination, no doubt. But now, the importance to technology friendliness will be more and more. The selection will be based on one more characteristic or a parameter, and that is technology adaptation. So we've got to be very careful about this. Another thing that can take place is liberal education will get executed in times to come. It's a drastic change. It will not go to take overnight. It's not going to happen just now. But what I mean by liberal education, a student will be able to access or learn from any teacher all over the world based on the quality of the teacher. He may finally get the degree from the home university where he has got registered or he has taken the maximum courses. But this can happen now. We have talked about credit-based many times, CBCS, but we have never implemented, but now it is possible in an online education. I go to the last part of this today, as I've short of time, the challenges that we will face. All the time I went on saying technology, technology, technology. No doubt technology is enabling, but it is limiting also, especially in a country like India. The basic access is a challenge. The basic access is a challenge. All our students do not have computers. They do not have fast streaming internet at home. There are so many problems of the issues of attendance, participation in online sessions, and so on. We have encountered all these problems when we conducted the online sessions in the last 2 months. Students require high-speed internet, computer. From the student's point of view also, think about it. It is stressful to look at a phone or a computer screen all day long. It is so difficult. So this is one more challenge that we are going to face. The government says we will be giving you all technology. Let's hope for the best. The next challenge that we will be encountering is from the students and the faculty's point of view. You look at the form of education from both ends of the spectrum. On one end is the student, on the other end is the faculty. The teachers, they talk about interaction, broadening of ideas, open discussion, debates. They say when we have taken online teaching, students hardly ask any questions. We do not have the advantage of face-to-face eye contact because we do not know whether the students have understood or not. There is always a new type of an excitement when you go to the class and teach in a real classroom. This is from a teacher's point of view. And from a student's point of view is that they do not enjoy sometimes the vivas, the moods, the debates, and the classroom discussion, they require nuanced perspective. They lose their flavor when done online. But we as teachers, as educators, we have got to redefine our role and make it as interesting as possible. This is the biggest challenge we face as faculty now. The next is the faculty training. Colleges will have to collaborate with digital learning specialists. We've got to teach our teachers, redesign higher education, and we've got to invest in this IT infrastructure. Let me end by saying just a few points that I wanted to make today. That is, the pandemic has transformed the old chalk teaching model to the model driven by technology. But please remember, the technology-driven model cannot replace it. It can help, it can complement it. And the going ahead is only that we use technology in teaching, and we will get the best of faculty across the globes for the students. The students today are savvy with technology, and we require to invest in creating and standardize online education platforms for the future. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam, for enlightening us and some challenges, opportunities, and what we plan in future after COVID-19. Thank you.